All right, good morning and welcome everybody to the Majors Monday. Today we cover all crypto majors and everything that's important for the week. First of all, we start with USDTD, which is creating higher highs here on the daily. Definitely worth noting. I marked this as key high for a while, and now we have several daily closes above. We don't have closes on the weekly. We have one on the 7-day. So you see, we have some close above this high. So I would consider this to be broken, to be taken out. And this means we create higher highs, even though it's hidden behind the wick. But you have seen on BTC, same example, BTC, we closed behind the wick below this low. And I consider this as broken market structure. So now the question is, what will we do from here? I mean, we reject from here, from the supply, from the 705, and we have some kind of demand here, and obviously we have the monthly block. And so a counter trend bounce was to be expected. Price always moves in fractals. Price very rarely just goes up in a straight line. And so a pullback was to be expected, and we have taken a scalp long here to hedge our shorts. Instead of like TPing the BTC shorts here, we went for like taking this long here, treating it as a scalp, TPing 50% here at the opposite pole, supply coming up, 90% TP up here from me, and maybe a little moon back left to hedge my shorts even more. But for now, everything is just a bearish retest, right? So if you look at this chart, we nuked back down, we closed below, not this one. Yeah, we did actually. And we closed below this one. So in my view, higher time frame structure is shifting to bearish, but this doesn't mean we can't bounce from there. Like, I mean, the bounce is already quite strong, and percentage-wise, this is huge, right? But in the end, look at structure. We just retest this support and resistance area. It's just a bearish retest until proven otherwise. So if we can't really take out this level here, this supply level, structure is bearish, right? And there is no reason to be overly bullish on higher time frame, but this doesn't mean we can't trade like bounces and stuff like that. Look at the way up. It's not a straight line. Very rarely it's a straight line. This is where people get most euphoric, but most of the time we have those pullbacks along the way. And same here, you make them very bearish, you make everybody scared and fearful, and then you bounce back up and people start buying again. And look at news are highly bullish, so they want to have buyers, right? So they want to offload as much as they can in this top range here, as it seems. And so for me, this is a scalp. And look at USDT, we basically do the same. We go higher, we close above this high, even though it's hidden behind the wick. And now we retest this demand and maybe even the monthly. And I would love to add to my shorts on this monthly. So I would probably do that on BTC. We have the supply here, we have the breaker block behind, and in the supply as refinement area. And let's see what the USDT is telling us. And other majors, sentiment, order flow, and all that, and then probably add to my short there. USDC is also painting a very clear picture in my view. We have taken this high on the daily, many daily bodies already above. We also closed above the 0.5, and we even closed above the 0.5 on the weekly, and closing above the 0.5 usually means algorithms are willing to push price back to the range high, which is in this case here. And we have big wicks here as well, so we have some kind of absorption going on. To me, as said, a pullback makes sense, so maybe a pullback into this area here, and you see Tether and USDC could line up pretty nicely, and then we have our majors here, and wherever they are at the chart, we have big supply here. ETH a little bit harder to read in my view, and BTC it's probably either here or up here. And majors will guide us the way and show us when to pull the trigger. Also, Bitcoin dominance going higher here. If we lose this local low, we could entertain like a drop into this. Maybe some altcoin outperformance, but maybe not what people expect. So this nuking doesn't really mean that the whole altcoin market needs to rip. It could also just mean money is flowing more into stablecoins. It could also mean, it could also mean that just one or two coins are outperforming, and wouldn't it be poetic if XRP rips out of nowhere, for example, and nobody's exposed for that as usual. So entertain different ideas, not just the one you like the most. ETH dominance and ETH BTC still looking pretty similar, still grinding lower, reacting from a 0.5 and the little demand here. News are highly bullish. I mean, we have some kind of double bottom, maybe even a third drive into this level, which is nobody expecting, or few people. And we look at news to confirm if this level is valid, and maybe there's a bigger reversal, a bigger counter trend bounce from there. But for now, structure is bearish. Structure is not turning bullish until we have taken out this area here. And if we take out this area and if we change structure to the upside, we can entertain higher time frame bullish ideas, right? So if something like this happens, we maybe want to get long on this pullback here. But for now, structure is pointing down. And so to me, everything I take on the long side right now is a scalp, right? Because I trade against structure, and I can even scalp on the higher time frame like I do on ETH. And this is hedging my shorts, and at the same time, it makes me some money now with this little bounce without me looking at it and being just bearish, like, oh yeah, structure is broken, it must go to 1K now. No, this is not how price behaves. Price moves in fractals, and so I can profit of every type of move. And this is what I do with those scalps. And as said, if structure is turning bullish again, I can still decide to be higher time frame bullish, and I can still build bigger longs. I don't need to be exposed perfectly every single time. It's not about perfection. It's about making consistently money and being on the right side of the trade most of the time. And as said, I trade structure. I don't trade my bias. I have my bias, but I let it flow, or I keep it fluid. Once structure is changing, I simply change my bias as well. But for now, it makes the most sense to be bearish. And if you look at all the totals, you will see it's pretty much the same. We have broken structure to the downside. We're creating higher time from lower highs, lower lows. And what we do now is just a bearish retest. We have some supply here. And as long as we haven't taken this supply out, as long as we don't make higher highs on higher time frame, I'm not higher time frame bullish. It's as simple as that. And you look at all totals and they pretty much look the same. We just retest this area from the lows, filling the imbalances, and leaving no imbalances behind is what market makers target, right? Closing those imbalances as good as they can, making people bullish again, making them buy here before we potentially roll over again. And you see same picture everywhere. So as said, as long as this area is above us and not below us, we have bearish market structure. Okay, I think that's it for today. This is everything I've seen so far. I mean, we can also look at the weekly closes, and the weekly closes do not look very bearish. Save the weekly is probably the agenda. And you know, many higher time frame traders know to look at the weekly or weekly closes and how important closes are. It's not that big of a secret anymore. But I mean, think about it. The candle close is not like, it doesn't close in the weekly time frame. So the candle close happens within 1 minute, basically. Like you have the week is ending and then the candle is closing. So if you're a market maker and you want to think people, you want to make people think that the market is still bullish, you want to make them buy, right? What would you do? You would pump price 1 or 2 days up. So first of all, people get bullish on the pump because they see, oh, prices are rising, I need to buy as usual. And the next thing is, you have now this weekly close, and do you just invest as market maker, you invest into this pump, push price higher just to make the weekly close there, to make it seem it's still bullish. And it's just a single close, and this close happens within a minute. The weekly close happens in the same time like a 1 minute candle, right? It's just this 1 minute that decides where the candle body is closed. And so this is why we look at several different time frames to get an impression where price really is and where most liquidity really is. Because as said, one close is printed within 1 second. And if you look at several closes, you will get a better impression of whales or institutions' intentions, simply because the longer they have to keep price at a certain area, the more this whole move costs them, or how can I frame this better? Not necessarily cost them, but you also need to consider that also whales can be dumped on, or institutions can be dumped on. And if they want to keep price at a certain level, it's usually for a reason. They don't move price just because just for fun or something. They always have some kind of intention. And the longer they keep price at a certain point, the clearer their intention becomes. And so that's also a reason why we look at several time frames to get a clearer picture of where the liquidity really is, where do the institutions put price. And if you look at the weekly close looks the strongest. And this is, I think, for a very, very simple reason, because most people, most retail investors that look for closes, they look for the weekly close, and they're gonna look at the weekly close this morning, and they're gonna say, oh, nice, look, BTC bounced from the range low, we have a big wick at the low and all that. But if you then look at different time frames, the picture is not that clear. We have not that great wick bounce kind of thing on every single time frame, especially not on the daily. And as said, I think this structural low was broken, and this is one of our strongest signals that structure is turning bearish here. And as long as we can't really take out at least even this area, and I mean structurally speaking, we would have also need to take out this area. But obviously you want to get early signs. This is the same reason why I don't just look at this low, but also on this, because I want to have an early sign of when the price is shifting. And you don't really get, I mean, you get that here obviously, but then it's compared to this, it's already 10% lower or 8%. And I mean, this is just BTC, you know what this means for altcoins. And so you want to get early signs of a structure that is changing, not late signs, not the one that sees it at the end, or no, the one that sees it latest, I think. So yeah, let structure guide you, and structure is bearish until proven otherwise. And also, if you look at the whole macro situation and everything, I mean, how many bullish news are there for crypto? I mean, Charles Schwab and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. So in my view, they're looking for buyers, and they create price action to attract buyers or attract sellers at the right time. And right now they're looking for buyers in my view. And yeah, so I'm higher time frame bearish, trading those kind of counter trend bounces as usual. And once structure is changing, I think probably the cleanest here. Once structure is changing, I can always decide to go long on the retest and maybe target even higher highs then again. But we will see, time will tell. I let structure guide you. I can only recommend you do the same. So stay focused, stay on top of the trend, stay on top of the market. Have a great week. Bye bye.